ATLAS has finally been decoded. Wake at night. For months, Atlas has been broadcasting complex electromagnetic signals that human cryptographers couldn't crack. The patterns were too intricate, the encoding too sophisticated, the structure too alien for traditional decoding methods. Then a team of researchers fed the raw signal data into an advanced AI system specifically designed to find patterns in seemingly random information. What the AI extracted from those TLAS is transmitting detailed information about Earth, our atmosphere composition, population density, something. And based on the signal directionality, that something is located in deep space, potentially receiving regular updates about our planet. But that's not the terrifying part. The AI also did numerical sequence decreasing with each broadcast cycle, currently showing approximately 23 days remaining. A countdown to what the AI couldn't determine. But the implications are chilling. Whatever Atlas came here to do, it's on a schedule, and we're running out of time. Before we break down exactly what the AI decoded and why research learn will completely change how you see our place in the universe. The question isn't whether ATLAS is communicating anymore. The question is, who is it talking to, and what happens when that countdown reaches zero? Traditional cryptography failed with Atlas's signals because human experts were looking for patterns that made sense to human minds. The AI succeeded because it looked for patterns that simply existed, regardless of whether they seemed logical to us. The research team used a neural network trained on every known communication system, human languages, computer protocols, mathematical frameworks, even animal communication patterns. They fed it the raw electromagnetic data from ATLAS without any pre-processing or assumptions about what form the message might take. A data scientist involved in the project explained the breakthrough. We weren't trying to translate the signal into English or any human language. We were trying to identify if organized information existed in the data structure. The AI found layers of encoding we never would have detected manually because they don't follow any communication principles we use. The AI identified three distinct layers in ATLAS's transmissions. The first layer was relatively simple, basic mathematical constants and physical laws that establish a shared framework for understanding. This is the universal language that any technological civilization would recognize. Prime numbers, atomic weights, speed of light values. But the second layer is where things got interesting. The AI detected encoded imagery, visual information represented in ways that don't match how humans typically encode pictures, but still represent spatial data. When the AI reconstructed these images, researchers were shocked to see detailed maps of Earth's surface showing continents, oceans, major geographical features, and disturbingly, concentrations of electromagnetic emissions that correspond to human population centers. The third layer contained what the AI interpreted as multidimensional data structures, information encoded across multiple variables simultaneously. This is where the atmospheric composition data, resource distribution analyses, and what appears to be technical assessments of human technology level new information as ATLAS observes more of our solar system. Early signals contained basic planetary data. More recent transmissions include detailed information that could only come from close systematic observation. One particularly unsettling finding, the AI detected correlation patterns between ATLAS's signal content and specific human activities. When major cities experience high electromagnetic activity, ATLAS's next transmission includes updated data about those locations. When military satellites change orbits, subsequent ATLAS signals reflect awareness of those movements. It's not just broadcasting a prepared message. Atlas is actively monitoring Earth and reporting its observations in real time. The AI's translation of Atlas's signals reveals it's transmitting what essentially amounts to a comprehensive intelligence assessment of planet Earth, and the level of detail is deeply concerning. The atmospheric analysis section describes Earth's air composition with precision matching our best scientific measurements. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, trace gases, water vapor concentrations, and even pollutant levels in different regions. This isn't approximation. This is data accurate to fractional percentages. An atmospheric physicist reviewing the decoded information was stunned. Atlas is reporting atmospheric composition data that we only recently confirmed ourselves through satellite measurements. They're detecting trace gases at parts per billion concentrations. That requires sensor technology far more sophisticated than anything we've deployed. The resource distribution section is even more troubling. The AI translation suggests throughout the transmissions, Atlas has identified major cities, calculated human population concentrations, and mapped patterns of electromagnetic emissions that reveal human technological activity. It knows where we live, how many of us there are, and where our major population centers are located. But perhaps most alarming it as troubling. This is the kind of intelligence gathering you conduct before military operations, mapping defenses, identifying capabilities, assessing response times. If this was a human military doing reconnaissance on another nation, we'd call it preparation for conflict. The signals also include comparative data, information about other celestial bodies in our solar system. Mars is extensively documented, including data about its thin atmosphere, surface composition, and notably, the locations where Atlas deployed those mysterious objects during its Mars orbit phase. The Moon is analyzed in detail, surface features, lack of atmosphere, and interestingly, the locations of human-made equipment we've left there from Apollo missions and recent landers. Atlas knows what we've placed on the Moon and where it's located. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the AI's decoding work is the identification of a countdown sequence embedded throughout ATLAS's transmissions. Represent keeps researchers awake with dread. The countdown appears as a decreasing numerical value that repeats in multiple sections of each transmission. The AI identified it by recognizing that this particular number sequence decreases by a consistent amount with each broadcast cycle, eventually projected to reach zero. A mathematician analyzing the countdown explained its significance. This isn't a random decreasing sequence. The rate of decrease is precisely calibrated to reach zero at a specific moment in time. Based on current broadcast intervals and the rate of countdown, we're looking at approximately 23 days until it hits zero. Give or take a day for transmission timing uncertainties. What happens at zero is the terrifying unknown. The AI couldn't determine the countdown's purpose because there's no reference data in the signals explicitly stating what event the countdown measures. But context clues suggest several disturbing possibilities. AI interpreted as trajectory data for ATLAS itself. These calculations show Atlas's projected position at various future time points. When researchers extrapolated these positions to the moment the countdown reaches zero, they found ATLAS would be at its closest approach to Earth, approximately miles away. That proximity isn't coincidence. Atlas has been maneuvering deliberately to position itself at that specific distance at that specific time. Whatever the countdown measures, it's synchronized with ATLAS, reaching optimal position relative to Earth. The AI also detected increased data density in transmissions as the countdown decreases. Early signals when the countdown was at higher numbers contained less information per broadcast. Recent signals as the countdown approaches zero are packed with more data, transmitted at higher power levels with more frequent broadcast cycles. A communications engineer described this pattern as ominous. Increasing transmission intensity as a deadline approaches suggests urgency consistent with a mission approaching its critical phase. Most disturbing, the AI identified what appears to be verification protocols in the signals, handshake sequences, and acknowledgement patterns that suggest Atlas is receiving responses from whatever it's transmitting to. These response patterns appear irregularly, with delays consistent with signals traveling across vast interstellar distances and back. Atlas isn't just broadcasting into the void. Something is listening, acknowledging receipt of the transmissions, and possibly sending instructions back. We're witnessing one side of a conversation between Atlas and some distant intelligence, and that countdown suggests the conversation is building towards something. Even more unsettling than what Atlas's broadcastings reveal, we're not just being observed, we're being discussed by intelligences that have capabilities to act on that information. The AI identified multiple instances of Atlas's broadcast pattern changing after receiving these response transmissions. The changes suggest the responses contain new instructions or information that modifies ATLAS's behavior. Atlas altered its trajectory slightly, making course corrections that changed its approach angle to Earth. After another response, earlier signals. Assist chilling. Time. Whatever sent Atlas here is actively managing the mission from light years away. They're adapting their plans based on the intelligence Atlas is gathering. The AI also detected what it interpreted as coordination signals, transmissions that might be synchronizing Atlas's countdown with other events or objects. These signals use timing patterns and frequency modulation that suggest they're meant to coordinate multiple elements of a larger operation. One particularly troubling decoded section appears to contain resource allocation calculations, mathematical models showing energy, what looks like logistics planning. The AI couldn't determine what these calculations are planning for, output, movement of objects with masses measured in trillions of tons scales from days to decades. Whatever is being planned is enormous in scope and long-term in execution. The research team asked their AI system to analyze all the decoded data and assess implications for Earth. That Atlas represents an advanced reconnaissance element for a larger operation. The comprehensive intelligence gathering, systematic observation, and detailed resource assessment match patterns of preliminary surveys. Probability was assigned to Atlas, being part of a coordinated fleet or network of similar objects based on the coordination signals and the scale of the response transmissions. If accurate, this means Atlas isn't alone. There are others, possibly many others, either here already or coming. The AI calculated a 54% probability that the countdown represents a synchronization point for multiple elements to converge on Earth or begin coordinated operations. The precise timing, the trajectory calculation toward a specific moment of coordinated action. Most troubling, the AI assigned a 43% probability to scenarios involving resource extraction or planetary engineering based on the detailed resource surveys and the massive scale of the calculations in the response signals. While not a majority probability, 43% is uncomfortably high for scenarios that would fundamentally alter or destroy Earth's biosphere. However, the AI also identified less hostile possibilities. A 31% probability was assigned to scientific research mission scenarios, Atlas as a probe from a civilization studying life-bearing worlds. A 28% probability was given to first contact preparation scenarios where the countdown represents careful approach protocols to avoid frightening less advanced civilizations. A xenosociologist reviewing the AI's probability assessments noted the uncertainty. These probabilities reflect how little we really know about intentions. The data shows capability and preparation, but doesn't clearly indicate purpose. Atlas could be dangerous or benign, and we won't know which until the countdown reaches zero. The AI also flagged several data anomalies it couldn't classify, transmission segments that don't fit any These unknown intent sections make up approximately 8 alien that finding meaning requires perspectives we don't possess. Now that we know what ATLAS is transmitting, researchers and governments face impossible choices about how to respond, and the clock is ticking with only 23 days until that countdown reaches zero. Some scientists argue we should immediately transmit a response to ATLAS, a message demonstrating that we've decoded its signals and requesting clarification of intentions. The argument, if ATLAS's purpose is benign, communication might ease tensions. If hostile, at least we'd die knowing we tried diplomacy. Others vehemently oppose any response, everything about us to whoever sent it. Confirming we've decoded their communications, we should keep hidden. If this is hostile reconnaissance, showing our hand eliminates any element of surprise surprise in our defensive options. A diplomatic strategist described the paralysis. Every option has potentially catastrophic consequences. Respond and potentially provoke hostility. Stay silent and miss potential peaceful contact. Prepare defenses and risk appearing aggressive. Military planners are developing response scenarios ranging from peaceful contact protocols to defensive actions. But the defensive options are grim. Our most powerful weapons might be useless against technology that can cross interstellar space and perform the maneuvers Atlas has demonstrated.